possible, then sell the viewership to the advertisers. Canadian consumers of music and stories received quantity over quality. But then the internet came along and changed everything. It changed everything for advertisers. Just ask the newspapers who, ironically enough, now lobby for a newsprint act to bail them out. It changed everything for musicians and storytellers. Just ask Justin Bieber if he'd have the globe-spanning career were it not for YouTube.
Well, it was really blistering coming at you today. We didn't know what to cut. There were so many good things that were said and the questions that were raised and the answers. But try as we must. Here it is. Check it out.
My gift to this government is a very easy question that they know is coming because I asked it just a couple of weeks ago. It's a yes or no question. But when I asked it a couple of weeks ago, I got an incomprehensible list of numbers and words unrelated to the question. Can this government commit that the tens of millions of barrels of oil coming from Saudi Arabia, Algeria, and Nigeria will be subject to the same rigorous regulations as oil coming from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland in terms of upstream and downstream emissions?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And certainly we are committed to making sure that we have the cleanest oil in the world being produced in Canada and being exported from Canada. That's why we have supported the TMX pipeline. We are supported the workers that are creating that pipeline, as well as Line 3, Line 5, LNG. So we are supporting Western Canada, Western jobs, and continuing to make sure that we have the highest standards so that when we export, we make sure that we have the highest standards.
The Canada-UK trade agreement has caused UK trade officials to state, in their own words, this will cause damage and destruction on businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. This represents $29 billion a year in trade between our countries. Weeks ago at committee, the minister would not commit to any timeline on legislation through Parliament or on the Senate. Canada's key business, agricultural, and manufacturing organizations are calling on the Liberals to provide stability and predictability on trade with the UK. What is the plan? We're out of time.
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, now more than ever, our businesses and all Canadians are looking for stability and predictability, and our first priority is implementing the legislation. This is why we're looking forward to working with all parliamentarians on a timely passage of this important legislation. That being said, we're also actively working with the United Kingdom to ensure a smooth transition for businesses to prevent any disruptions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Madam Speaker, the Liberals have had years to work on this trade agreement that they knew was expiring at the end of 2020. Instead, they pull out of negotiations early in 2019, excuse me, and they didn't restart them until this summer. For weeks, the minister has been talking about trade mitigation ideas for businesses, and now the UK officials are saying that the Liberals' plans may not even be possible. The minister left exporters out to dry with only 12 business days left, 4 tariffs potentially being applied. And I've asked the minister several times now, what is the plan to mitigate these disruptive tariffs?
The Honourable Minister of Small Business and Exports.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me be clear. My message, our message to businesses is that you don't have to prepare for a worst-case scenario. Why? Because we do have a trade continuity agreement with the United Kingdom, and we are working hard to ensure that there are no disruptions and that there is a smooth transition. Nothing is more important to us than providing that stability and that predictability for Canadian exporters.
Billions of dollars of COVID funding has been spent by profitable corporations for dividend payments, executive bonuses, and stock buybacks. These companies don't have to pay back a cent. But it's a different story for regular Canadians who applied in good faith for emergency benefits, like artists and the self-employed. They're being told to pay back thousands of dollars. Once again, Liberals are putting big business profits ahead of everyday people. Will this government end the double standard? Will Liberals stop this vicious clawback from vulnerable, struggling Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And let me begin by wishing the honourable member and all members of this House a happy holiday season and a Merry Christmas. To address the question, our approach from day one has been to ensure that we provide enough support to Canadian households and businesses to keep them afloat so they can contribute to the economic rebound once this pandemic is over. With respect to the wage subsidy, I would point out that the only companies that are eligible for that are the ones who can demonstrate a serious drop in revenue that are using that money specifically to keep their workers on the payroll. I'm pleased to share with the honourable member almost 4 million Canadians still have a job as a result of that program.
The honourable member for Hamilton Centre.
At the start of this pandemic, the Prime Minister called on Canadian industry to step up and produce protective equipment. And step up they did. Distilleries and breweries across Canada scrambled to start producing much-needed hand sanitizer. Their hard work and initiative saved lives. However, instead of buying hand sanitizer from these Canadian businesses, which produce thousands of litres, the Liberal government sent over $500 million to multinational corporations. Can this minister explain the rationale behind the decision to buy hand sanitizers from outside of Canada when small businesses in this country work so hard to start producing it?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
Thank you.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
So proud of the exceptional efforts by Canadian companies all across this great country to produce all of the materials that we needed to address this COVID crisis. Every single province, small businesses, large businesses, transformed businesses, they got us to where we need to go, and that's exactly what we invested in all along. Yes, there was equipment that couldn't be purchased here, and there were purchases made out of the country. Everything was done absolutely properly, and we have made sure that our manufacturing sector has been transformed as a result. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Madam Speaker, top secret government documents reveal the Liberals put pressure on our Canadian Armed Forces to train communist Chinese troops in Canada. Despite warnings from our Five Eyes partners not to let China steal our military secrets, the Deputy Prime Minister was more concerned with her image in Beijing than Canada's national security. Kidnapping our citizens, bankrupting our farmers, violating human rights, cyber attacks, and spying. Which of these security threats is the Deputy Prime Minister willing to compromise by training Chinese troops? Whose side is she actually on?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety and Security.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And let me first of all say that the protection and safe return of the 2 Canadians currently detained by the Chinese government is our top priority, and we will continue to make that clear to China. Let me be also clear that we do not train with the Chinese military, and perhaps the member opposite is confused by a cooperation plan initiative that he was a party to signing that was designed to guide the further development of bilateral defense relations with China that the Conservatives signed in 2013, Madam Speaker. But let me say once again, we do not train with the Chinese military.
The honourable member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Well, Madam Speaker, we know that the Prime Minister expanded that agreement for military training in 2017. And let's be clear, the invitation to the Chinese Army to come to Canada for winter training happened in February 2018 under this Liberal government. The hero in the story is the Chief of Defence Staff, who stood up for Canadian values and axed this Liberal government's plan. He should have been able to count on the Minister of National Defence to have his back. Unfortunately, the Defence Minister hid under his desk and let the Deputy Prime Minister walk all over him. Why did the Defence Minister allow the Deputy Prime Minister dictate military policy with communist China that compromises our national security?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And as is so often the case, the members got the story completely wrong. And in fact, although there has been agreements put in place by the Conservatives since 2012 that were intended to develop strategic military-to-military talks, reciprocal government between reciprocal government and military officials, we have been very clear. Our relationship with China has continued to evolve, and we recognize the hostile activities of that particular government. And let me be crystal clear, we do not train with the Chinese military.
The honourable member for Perth Wellington.
Madam Speaker, yesterday the Minister of Rural Economic Development accused Conservatives of spreading misinformation. But here's some facts on rural broadband. Despite having 500,000 underserved residents in southwestern Ontario, not a dime and not a single project was approved through the Connect to Innovate program for that area of the country. So, Madam Speaker, very simply, to the Minister of Rural Economic Development, will she commit to regional funding through the Universal Broadband Fund for Southwestern Ontario for programs like SWIFT and for Eastern Ontario for programs like EORN?
Hear, 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 hear. The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, it's my pleasure to stand up in the House and talk about all the tools in our toolbox to connect Canadians and Canadians in New Brunswick. The new Universal Broadband Fund with the Rapid Response Stream. Applications are coming in daily. I encourage the member opposite to work with his local internet service providers and his communities to make sure that they put applications in that we can get all Canadians connected. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
A member for Perth Wellington.
Well, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, the Parliamentary Secretary has left all the tools in the toolbox because these projects are not going forward because of the lack of support from this Liberal government. Again, $186 million left on the table last year unspent by the Liberal government. Fewer than 9% of households connected. Fewer than 10% of Canadians connected, despite what's been promised by these Liberal governments. Their service availability maps are completely flawed with errors. So, Madam Speaker, very simple to the Minister. Why has she failed Canadians in connecting rural Canadians to high-speed internet?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I was privileged and pleased to be at an announcement this morning where we announced over $60 million for rural Southern Ontario. We are getting projects delivered, but I need to remind all the members in this House, please get your applications in. The federal government depends on applications from communities and internet service providers to get Canadians connected. We will get all connected.
Keep food on our plates during unprecedented crisis. They're at the top of Santa's good list this year. I think they deserve some long-awaited gifts like broader trade access, an exemption from carbon tax, BRM reform, and fair hearing for neonics insecticides. Will this government deliver, or can farmers and ranchers expect another lump of coal from the Liberal government?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was very proud a couple of weeks ago to put a clear offer on the table to my counterparts from the provinces to improve agri-stability by 50%. The Government of Canada is ready to remove the limit on the reference margin limit on this agri-stability program, and also to increase the compensation rate from 70 to 80%. And I'm waiting for the response from my counterpart in the provinces. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Regina Louvain.
Jobs, Madam Speaker. That's what people in Western Canada want, jobs. And that's what this Prime Minister promised the USW 5890 workers when he did a photo op with them last year. He'd protect their jobs. So, without the Care Bear stare, without mentioning what Mr. Harper did or didn't do, there's one simple question that oil and gas workers want to know the answer to across this country. In this Prime Minister's reimagined economy, is there a room for them to raise their family, support their family, and put food on the table?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, TMX, we got it approved, 7,000 jobs created so far. Line 3 pipeline, we approved it, 7,000 jobs created. Keystone XL, we're supporting it. On the Canadian side, 1,500 jobs created. NGTL 2021, we approved it. Thousands of jobs to be created. LNG Canada, building it, thousands of jobs there. Orphan and inactive wells, $1.7 billion. Thousands of jobs in Alberta and Saskatchewan. And the wage subsidy, more than 500,000 workers kept in their jobs in the pandemic in Alberta alone. That is our record. We will keep working to make sure that people are working in Western Canada. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Mission Matsky Fraser Canyon.
Madam Speaker, Parliament rises today, but small municipalities and non-for-profits will work through Christmas trying to meet the December 31st deadline for rapid housing funds. Big cities, however, can simply collect their promised checks, one set of rules. I know for a fact small communities are still trying to make sense of the fund, never mind be in a position to submit an application. Second set of rules. Why is this government excluding them from having a reasonable shot at reaching and helping their homelessness issue before Christmas? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, our government is committed to ending chronic homelessness everywhere, right across Canada. The $1 billion rapid housing initiative targets where the situation is most severe and where COVID is strongest and where public health dictates we invest quickly. All municipalities, all communities, Indigenous-led governments as well, can apply for the rapid housing initiative. We're committed to ending homelessness. This is the first installment, and we are working just as hard over Christmas to make sure every community, small ones, large ones, regional ones, northern ones, get the support they need to help vulnerable Canadians in difficult situations. Thank you.
For Victoria.
Madam Speaker, the Liberals have missed every single climate target. They haven't planted a single one of their promised 2 billion trees, and they're spending billions of dollars on a pipeline that contradicts their own climate plans. We are in a climate crisis. Along with ambitious targets, we need action. Cities like Montreal are showing real leadership with bold, concrete plans, but the Liberals just keep rehashing versions of old plans with excuses about why they haven't gotten around to them yet. When will this Prime Minister stop re-announcing things and start actually doing them?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And perhaps my honourable colleague is unaware, so I'll remind her, we are the first government to put in place a 50-point plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We are the first government to put a price on carbon pollution. We are the first government to invest in planting 2 billion trees. We are the first government to invest in zero-emission vehicles. We are the first government to invest historic amounts in green infrastructure, Madam Speaker, and we're not done yet. Very shortly, we will be announcing our plan to show how we're not going to achieve our Paris targets, but surpass them, Madam Speaker. We're going to do it for our kids. We're going to do it for our grandkids.